And welcome back to another episode of the MidMajorBasketball.com Women's Basketball Podcast. My name is Derryl Trujillo, the national women's basketball contributor for MidMajorBasketball.com. This week, it's America East Preview Week on the podcast, and joining us is the first-year head coach of the Vermont Catamounts, Maureen Magarity. Magarity steps into the chair after a couple of years away, replacing a former college teammate in Alisa Kresge. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coach, after a couple of years away, how much has the game changed at all, or is it everything around the game that's changed?
Yeah, I think for us at our level, not too much has changed. I think obviously the landscape of college athletics has drastically changed in the last 2 years with the transfer portal and NIL. But I think for our level, obviously it's been affected a little bit. But overall, I think a place like UVM. Where we really, I think the transfer portal has helped, this program definitely continue to stay successful and consistent, but we can still really bring in those 4-year players that we develop. They come in as freshmen and really, keep them here at UVM because of the community. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an exciting time. And, even though I was away for the last few years, I still was able to understand kind of what was going on from a different lens. I was in fundraising for 2 years here at UVM. And so, obviously my husband's the men's coach here at UVM, and Alisa and I were college teammates. So I'm very up to speed with the changes for sure. But it's definitely different from 2 years ago when I was the head coach at Holy Cross.
When you stepped off the floor at Carver Hawkeye that afternoon, after playing Iowa, when you were at Holy Cross, did you think you'd step back on a sideline or not really?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, especially in coaching, you just never know where you land. But at that point, say kind of taking a step away and focusing on my family and making the move for my family. I felt so amazingly grateful of what we were able to accomplish, and felt at that point in my career to be able to say, yeah, this might be my last game ever coaching, against Iowa, against Caitlin Clark in the NCAA tournament. I felt good about that. So, just kind of saying if this is the last game I ever coach, then I feel really lucky and grateful from all the opportunities that basketball has given me. And so, it's just a crazy, crazy world. You never know what's going to kind of happen. And obviously, this opportunity here at UVM, I was never really expecting. Obviously, Alisa and I are great friends, and she is an incredible coach. And I knew she was probably going to have some great opportunities. And I can say that as her college teammate. I mean, she's one of the best. And, to have that opportunity at Richmond was a great one for her and a perfect fit. And, it just so happens that I'm here, so I feel really lucky and very excited about this. I mean, it's a tremendous group. It's just an amazing university, and working for, the best AD and Jeff Schulman here. So I'm really lucky to be here.
You're going to return one starter that started all 35 games in Malia Lenz, and then two others who started at least 10. So you're going to have some experience behind you stepping back into the head coach's chair. Just talk about kind of how the rest of the roster is shaping together. You had a nice haul in the portal, uh, especially with some size in the post there, and then three first year guards that bring significant international experience. So kind of just talk about how this roster is coming together behind those three starters.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And obviously, kind of going back to the change, in college athletics, I feel really lucky that the returners, stayed. A few went into the portal, and we had those kind of conversations right when I got the job, to weigh their options. And that, it's an exciting time to be a student athlete because you can. But I'm so grateful that they decided to come back here to UVM and finish up their career here. So yeah, I mean, I think this summer session has been terrific. I think, I'm sorry. No, I can't see you. And my updates are kind of coming up here. I'm sorry. Where did you go? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. There we go. I think to be able to have them stay here as leaders, obviously they have different roles. Kat Gilwey's actually going to come back for her sixth year, and we got her waiver, which is tremendous. But yeah, I think being able to go into the portal and to have, some size and Maya from St. Joe's and AP from Delaware really helps. We'll never be able to fill the spot of Nicola, but like you said, we needed that size. And obviously, a lot of the returners are going to have completely different roles. That senior class that graduated played a lot of minutes and scored a lot of points and did a lot of things statistically. So it's gonna be a great challenge for us. And I think just where Vermont is as a program, the target's always going to be on our back. And I think this group really embraces that. And they want to win. I mean, they're probably the most self-motivated group I've ever had. I mean, they're always in the gym, and they just find, a great responsibility in keeping this program where it's at.
You're in a very unique spot as opposed to most incoming first year head coaches at a school because you worked in the building. You sat through games the last couple of years. How far ahead of the curve do you think you are in getting stuff put in?
Yeah, I think, like you said, all of those type of things. I mean, the last 2 years, obviously, I was very close with Alisa, and we were at every game. I have two daughters that are 13 and 10, and that's what makes UVM so special is the community. And so, obviously, the community rallies around all of UVM athletics. So we were at every game. And got obviously an opportunity as a fundraiser to travel and really get out on the road and follow them as well. So yeah, I saw a lot of games. I knew what we had back. Obviously, Alisa and I played for Coach Georges at Marist College, and have a lot of similarities in our coaching philosophies. Some differences, obviously. So, and that way, the transition has been pretty smooth. I think. We run a lot of the very similar sets. A lot of our teaching. The last couple of years, my time at Holy Cross, and while Alisa was at UVM, we were both ranked, nationally, statistically in defensive categories. So yeah, I think in that way, I mean, I don't think taking over a program is necessarily ever an easy task. This is my third time taking over a program, but in that way, I think the transition has really been smooth, and all the credit goes to these players. I mean, they've really embraced myself and my staff. I've hired an incredible staff. And so I think, they've really picked up on a lot of things. And, now moving into, over a month of summer workouts, I think they've really just been sponges, and it's been a lot of fun.
You're in a way you're coming home, right? Because you spent 10 years in the America East at New
They did.
Hampshire.
Yeah.
So are you when they said, "Hey, you got it," was it bringing back memories of being on the opposing sideline at UVM and other places throughout the America East?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, I got my start as I was my first head coaching job was at UNH back in 2010. I was hired by Marty Scarano, was the athletic director, and it was the youngest head coach in the country. So I learned a lot, my first couple of years, obviously in the America East, and I feel really lucky for that opportunity at a really young age after being an associate head coach at Army West Point. And so yeah, very familiar with the league. The league was different back then. Bryant and NJIT were not in the league. And I think, on both sides, men and women, I mean, those were great additions to the league, and definitely make our league stronger. And so, yeah, I mean, I've coached here a lot. And then at Holy Cross, I mean, we played every year. My 4 years at Holy Cross, we played UVM. They were great battles. And those last, my 4 years there, and Elisa's 4 years, had a lot of success, and they were really great. I mean, they weren't very high scoring games. I think most games were in the 40s. So a lot of defense was played in those games. But yeah, and I've always said, all my years at UNH and Holy Cross, come back to UVM, and I would always say, man, like those crowds are incredible. Even my first couple of years when UVM was rebuilding back in the early 2010s, and they still would have 2,000 people. So the home court advantage in Patrick is real, and I've seen that on the other end, and then obviously also in the stands. But it'll be nice to have that on my side, now that I'm the head coach here.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier your husband John Becker is the men's coach at UVM. What's it like kind of having him a couple doors down? as opposed to like when you were at Holy Cross trying to do this thing somewhat long distancey?
Yeah, much easier. I see him a lot more. And we still seem to like each other, so that's a good thing. But yeah, John and I, we started dating, got divorced around the same time back when I was at UNH. And so, our first couple of years, it was a little bit closer. Then I took the Holy Cross job and our commute was a lot farther. But yeah, it's been great. And I think these last 2 years just being up here and being a coach's wife and not being a coach myself and getting to travel with John and the team was really fun, for our family, got to experience some things just from a different way. We, obviously, as you can imagine, both being Division I head coaches, we've missed out on a lot of really big moments, in our coaching careers, NCAA tournament games. We've missed out on championship games because we were coaching in our own. So that was, that was fun the last 2 years. But yeah, I'm just so proud of him and what he's, built here at UVM, and what he means to this community. So it's really special. And, again, we feel really grateful, and lucky, and it's been really fun to see how the community has kind of gotten a kick out of this.
So tell me about those, the couple of years away in fundraising, how that helps you coming back as a head coach. Maybe it's when you have to go speak before the boosters or something. Just tell me about that transition.
Yeah, so it was a great opportunity for me, moving to Burlington. That opportunity, Jeff Schulman and I have known each other, our athletic director, since I was the coach at UNH. And so, when that job was open, just having a coach's perspective on things, I think for the athletic department with fundraising, being able to talk to donors from a coach's perspective and explaining to them about, all the new rule changes and just the different landscape of college athletics, I think, was educational, I think, for a lot of our donors. It's just a lot of moving parts, as you know. And so it was good. And I think now that I'm, taking over now as the head coach, I mean, fundraising has always been a really big piece of, being a head coach, all my years. And obviously, as head coaches now more than ever, you really have to build those relationships and really get out on the road and go to dinners and meet donors and talk about your program. And I hope it's only going to help me continue to be as strong of a head coach as I need to be. And it was fun for me, just moving to this to this community and being able to meet some people that maybe I would never have met, just moving here and just becoming the head coach right away. So there's some amazingly supportive, generous donors here at UVM that are so proud of our whole athletic department. And I think that's what was kind of fun the last 2 years. I got to meet some donors from other sports. And obviously, as you can imagine, I think we believe we played in 7 championship games, at UVM last year. So all of our sports teams are thriving right now. And so I got a chance to meet some really cool people.
What's your take on the whole, the eligibility change to 5-5, the 5-5 model, and how that affects the way you tackle recruiting for the next couple of cycles?
Yeah, you know what? I think it makes it easier in some in some lenses for people to say, okay, you got your 5 years, and now we don't have to worry about all these waivers and the unknown and the question marks and injuries and this and that and transferring. So I think in that way, it's just very straightforward. But then on the flip side, I mean, now because we're right in the mix of it, I mean, forecasting ahead a couple classes, I mean, it it's hard, but it already was because, obviously we don't have crystal balls as coaches and we don't know what players are going to stay and what players are going to leave anyways, so now it just adds another layer. But I look at my class and, I'm hopeful that some of our seniors will want to stay here, and finish up through their 5th year. We have some amazing, graduate programs here at UVM, and, it can also kind of change, how how people look at schools as far as the programs and co-ops and internships and things like that. And I think that's definitely going to help us here at UVM. But yeah, it's just another kind of thing to navigate. And again, I'm really lucky. I have a really hungry and young staff that understands it. And obviously, there's been a lot of changes since I've been a head coach, so I'm going to really rely on them for a lot of that as well.
And then the international rule change to international trips to from once every four to carte blanche. You can go as much as you want. Do you foresee UVM taking advantage of that rule with you back in the chair?
You know, I think again, it really just depends on, where you're at as a program, and I even you look at your program every single year. I mean, there's a lot of just different, priorities for each program. I mean, it sounds great to be able to go on an international trip every year, right? But I think every year is a different group, a different roster, different expectations. I even think back to the summer before my last year at Holy Cross, and we brought everybody back, and our best player, was player of the year in the Patriot League, Brona Power Cassidy, was from Ireland. And we got to go back to Dublin. I mean, that was a really special trip. And, that didn't happen a lot, and they hadn't really taken one in a very long time. And so, I think the way we'll probably look at it is we'd love to be able to take them as much as we can. And I think with a lot of our international student athletes on our team, our roster now has a really great, diversity in just the different countries that we represent. But you still want to kind of keep that special, in my opinion. And especially being here with this in the summer, it's important just to be here in our community here in Burlington as well, and to have summer camps and to have the community and the young, girls that look up to these role models, and to still make sure that we have time to stay here on campus and be in Burlington. But yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, with the different rule changes, it just gives you different options. And some schools financially can do it and some can't. And I don't think there's really a pro or a con to that.
I know we're just in the latter part of July here, but what can you tease about your first non-conference schedule back? I know you're playing Fairfield in the Metro America East Challenge, but outside of that game, what else can you tease about the non-conference?
Yeah, we have some great return games. We play High Point, which will be a great game. Drexel, like you mentioned, I think in the Metro Challenge with Fairfield and Quinnipiac will be, really great games. We just signed a contract to go play in Puerto Rico, so we're waiting to find out, some high level teams in that as well. And then we're working on hopefully getting a Power Four school to come to Patrick Gym in Burlington. So that'll be a really neat, experience for our players and our fans. Missouri came a couple years ago to play here, which I thought was special. I was here in the stands watching, so stay tuned for that one as well. I think the fans will be really excited for that. But yeah, and traditionally, I mean, UVM has always kind of had to go on the road and travel for a lot of games. Just because of where the program's at, just to make sure. And also, I think, with the NCAA is just making sure that the schedule was strong and the RPI was strong, so that for selection show, kind of set themselves up. And Alisa and her staff did a tremendous job with that as well. So we're going to continue that for sure.
Talk about, okay, so this year, I think more than most years, we're seeing power fours being willing to travel to mid majors.
Right.
And just that growing the game aspect of getting its top programs in markets where maybe they wouldn't otherwise play. I mean, you look at UW Green Bay got a home and home with Texas over the
Right.
next couple of years. GCU has a home and home with South Carolina. Like they played the South Carolina leg last year, and then South Carolina will come west, not this year, but the following year. Just
Mm.
talk about that growing the game aspect of, not always, the Power Fours being willing to come to mid majors and how big that is for those communities.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And I wish I could say what school it was because I think it's pretty sweet, but I think we're still waiting on the contract of that. But yeah, especially in a a community like Burlington, where for the men and the women, I mean, people just live and die with UVM basketball. I mean, that's what gives that, they look forward to every winter, which just they come to every game. And I think our fans will they appreciate that as well. And I think for the traveling teams to be able to go on the road, I mean, it's a great atmosphere for them too, to kind of come in. I think our gym is just very old school, with the wooden bleachers, no score, no huge video board, all that kind of stuff. And I think, coaches, it's just a different experience, I think, for some of those power fours to come and still play in front of a great crowd, fans that understand and appreciate good basketball. And I think, it's just like we said, I mean, that'll be, a game that's circled on our schedule for not just for for our players and our coaches, but for our whole community. So I just think it's great. And I really appreciate, the Power Four schools that do that, for us, for our level. I think it's just it's amazing. And I can't wait to be able to put out who we're going to play.
And then Puerto Rico, obviously. Have you ever taken a team to that Puerto Rico Vallarta challenge?
No, yeah, no. So this will be my first time, and some really good schools that are in the mix, and kind of continuing to talk with them as well. So the brackets haven't come out and our matchups haven't come out, but yeah, it's been great. And UVM in the past, they've traveled really well the last couple years. They played in Hawaii, played out in Alaska, Cancun. So, UVM women's basketball definitely goes out and travels. And obviously that helps just, with non-conference getting ready for a conference schedule and for the postseason play, but also, for recruiting. It's great for our recruits to know that we do a great job of going out and playing in these awesome tournaments, for our fans to come. Our fans travel really, really well, and for our families. So really excited and appreciative that we have that opportunity to play in Puerto Rico.
Well, how are you feeling about the NCAA tournament being expanded again to 76?
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I played in the first four when I was at Holy Cross a couple years ago, and that was the greatest experience of my life. When we played and when we stayed for a whole week and we got to play in Iowa and got to play two games in Iowa. So, I think the more opportunities for teams to play in postseason, it's the NCAA tournament. There's still going to be a Final Four. There's still going to be, a great excitement around our game, and I just think it's more opportunities for more teams and more people to experience that. So I think it's great. And I mean, I know a lot of people have their thoughts on that, but again, I think that just playing in that first four game, winning a game was just the highlight of my coaching career, and to be able to play, in Carver for that whole week was something that I'll never forget, and I don't think any of my players or my coaches will forget either.
All right. We're going to close with rapid fire for the last little portion here. Uh,
Awesome.
all right. What is one show that is on the Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, Tubi streaming binge watching list this summer?
Oh, we're really into Cape Fear.
All right. Give me if I was to go visit Burlington, give me one must-have ma and pa restaurant for like a nice dinner on like a Wednesday night in the middle of the season.
Halversons on Church Street.
All right. Um, but what is one snack that is in the office refrigerator right now?
Refrigerator. Well, there's not much in our refrigerator, but we have pretzels filled with peanut butter. That's our
Okay.
go-to snack.
Um, all right. Last book you read.
The Women. Great book.
All right. Um, Karaoke night at the America East tournament. What are you breaking out?
Thankfully, we didn't do that at the meetings, but my go-to is usually Mr. Brightside by the
Okay.
Killers.
Um, when you were in the America East your first time, what was your favorite trip? What was your favorite road trip?
Burlington.
Um, One word to describe your 26-27 squad.
Fiery.
Um, let's see. And last but not least, let's see. Um, okay. Favorite sport outside of basketball?
Football.
Okay. All right. University of Vermont women's basketball head coach Maureen Magarity, thank you so much for joining us on a Tuesday morning. We're a little more than 100 days from opening night and the start of the Catamounts' defense of the America East regular season and tournament championships. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.